Could a single regular season game actually turn into like a physical and mental gauntlet, a real battle for survival on every single possession?
Yeah, it sounds dramatic, but
What if a 2025 NBA game looked less like, the modern style and more like 80s basketball, super rugged?
exactly.
And could one player getting hurt early just ignite an already fierce rivalry into, well, an all-out war?
It's fascinating because Game 2 between the Warriors and the Rockets, it became exactly that kind of game. We're not just looking at the box score here.
No, not at all.
We're really digging into how this game sort of devolved into what you could call a bloody chess match of pain, where that strategic physicality was just dominant.
Exactly. Forget the fancy stuff for a minute. This deep dive, it's zeroed in on one thing. The Houston Rockets didn't just win Game 2. They, bullied the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
Imposed their will through relentless strategic physicality. So we're going to unpack exactly how they pulled it off, looking at the gambits, the counters, and just the sheer force that defined this one.
And the context here is so important. The Rockets, they just lost Game 1 at home. So that desperation, you could feel it.
Oh, yeah?
Coach Udoka, his priorities were crystal clear. Create spacing on offense, get better looks, and crucially, ball security. Stop the Warriors' transition game before it starts.
And you saw that urgency straight away, didn't you? The defense on Curry was immediate. It was varied. You had Klay Thompson face guarding him hard.
Right.
Podziemski trying to fight through screens. And then that bold move, Dillon Brooks basically ignoring Draymond at the nail.
Daring someone else to beat them.
Totally. It was a challenge. Initially, it was Tate on Draymond, I think, but they switched quick, put Jimmy Butler on him instead.
Yeah.
What did those early looks tell you about Houston's mindset?
It just screamed disruption. By throwing all these different looks and strategies at Curry, they wanted to throw him off his rhythm, force the Warriors into offense they weren't comfortable with.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is how they sometimes used, Moody isolated on the wing as a release valve.
Yeah.
Hoping to draw help, maybe get Allman cutting baseline.
Ah, okay.
That early bucket, Green to Thompson cutting, that came directly from that patience. And, you can't forget Van Vliet hustling back to break up that early Warriors fast break. Those effort plays really set the tone.
Absolutely. And speaking of setting a tone, Udoka definitely lit a fire under Jaylen Green after Game 1. Told him to be more aggressive.
And he was.
The result. Just an incredibly aggressive game from him, both ends. That early three he hit, big confidence boost. But honestly, it was his defense at the point of attack that really jumped out. Constant pressure.
His aggression was, transformative for them. Now, Allman was on Curry initially, but he kept dying on those Moody screens, which, freed up Curry for a moment.
Right.
But even with those little openings, Green's pressure, the overall defensive intensity, Curry had to work so hard for everything. And notice those times they deliberately didn't switch on Curry screens.
Yeah.
That was tactical. Stay attached, limit those open threes.
The physicality. I mean, it had been building through the series, right?
Yeah.
But Game 2, it just boiled over. Thompson and Draymond getting tangled.
Yep. And then obviously Draymond taking that swing at Brooks, that felt like a real escalation.
Oh, definitely. It injected even more intensity. And the Rockets pushing the pace offensively. That felt like a direct counter attack before the Warriors could set their D.
Yeah, smart.
Brooks getting that early score in transition, that baseline turnaround on Butler, that showed exactly what they wanted to do, score fast.
And Green just kept attacking the rim. Allman was that consistent outlet when the defense collapsed. Both teams were really pushing transition hard. That led to that Green to Thompson jam after the back screen. You could just feel the game getting rougher.
And the Rockets' D on Curry in transition was key too. Like Van Vliet helping on that pin down, but then recovering fast to Draymond. That's attention to detail.
It really is.
And Green showing more playmaking too. Got his third assist pretty early, already doubling his Game 1 total, plus his inside presence. He was a beast inside. What did you make of his overall impact compared to Game 1? It was night and day, wasn't it? Oh, completely different player. Just the whole approach, the effectiveness. But, the Warriors tried to answer. Curry drawing doubles did open things up sometimes. GP2 had that nice touch pass for a corner three. Shannon handoff to Green for another dime. But it felt like every time the Warriors landed a punch, the Rockets just hit right back. Immediately.
Exactly. And that's where you see the strategy, the chess match part. The Rockets made those key offensive adjustments. They were taking what the defense gave them. Huge difference from Game 1. Where they seem to struggle with that.
Absolutely. And they just never let Curry get comfortable. Constant doubles, that relentless poking and pushing.
Wow.
You saw Kerr on the sideline just arguing about the grabbing. It really looked like they were trying to wear Curry down, physically and mentally.
That physical pressure was, without a doubt, the cornerstone. Taylor Green forcing that jump ball against Curry, another perfect example. And Udoka telling them to play through contact just reinforced it all. Plus, that high pick and roll they kept running, especially with that cutter option off the dunker spot.
Yeah.
That just kept stretching the Warriors thin.
And Shannon was a huge part of that, wasn't he? Setting up Tucker, that ball screen where Green changed direction and scored. He was making plays all over.
He really was.
And you could just see Jaylen Green's confidence building. He started adjusting, like if the 3 was contested, he'd just drive for a 2 instead. Smart basketball.
That kind of adjustment mid-game, that shows growth. But then the game just shifted dramatically. That awful fall with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Contact with Thompson underneath him. Leg just buckled. It looked bad. Seeing him limp off and then getting ruled out, pelvis contusion, you just felt the air go out a bit. A huge blow for the Warriors.
Such a gut punch for Golden State. And almost right away, end of the first quarter, Houston's already up by 10. Kuminga checks in. That deficit felt big, especially knowing Butler wasn't coming back. How much did losing Butler that early really derail their whole plan?
It just had this ripple effect.
Yeah.
Straight away, Brooks gets a switch on to Draymond, scores a tough bucket. The physicality didn't let up, obviously. And the Warriors' offense, well, without Steph and Butler, it looked lost.
Yeah, disjointed.
Then Van Vliet shoves someone, forces another switch. Shaedon gets a mismatch, scores easily. Sharp, with those Sultan of Spin moves, and he was just carving up those mismatches.
And even Steven Adams, just his sheer size seemed to bother their passing in those inverted pick and pops. Then the Rockets rip off that, 12-0 run, led balloons to 20. It looked really bleak for the Warriors right then.
It did, but, credit to Kuminga. He stepped into a tough spot and hit that corner 3 off a Curry screen, gave him a little spark.
Sure.
Dre found post on a cut, but Jabari Smith Jr. made a nice block. Right. And suddenly Pat Spencer's like their number 2 option for a bit there. Wild.
So unexpected. But even with those flashes, that Houston pressure on Curry just didn't stop. The breakdown even said body him, grab him, scratch him. It was that physical.
Relentless.
Though there was that one moment, remember, after a scramble, quick tap, bit of respect shown. Just a reminder, these are still guys competing hard.
Yeah, those moments happen even in the heat of it. But Houston stayed locked in. Warriors cut it to 15. Felt like maybe they had some life. And boom. Jaylen Green hits that ridiculous moonball 3. Just crushes the momentum. The Warriors bench did fight, though. Curry found Kuminga for a layup.
And then things got kind of wild at the end of the half. Looney fouls Sheenan, and suddenly it's a 3-point shootout.
Yeah. Shakes healed, hits one for Golden State. Van Vliet answers right back. Curry hits one, even though he thought he got fouled earlier. It was like a little home run derby to close the half.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But it wasn't sustainable for the Warriors, obviously. Going into halftime down 14, that's a tough hill to climb.
For sure. Second half starts, Rockets stick to the script. Warriors try loading up on Sheenan.
And it just leads to a wide-open 3 for Jaylen Green. Allman sets a smart screen on GP2 to free him up.
Green was just on fire, kept scoring. That 2-man game with Sheenan, Warriors had no answer, and Golden State's offense just kept sputtering in the third.
Yeah, really struggled.
Draymond hit an open 3, finally got his first bucket, but it felt almost like too little, too late.
Kind of. And even then, the Rockets responded. Sheenan hedges hard on Curry, leaves post open for 3. Curry himself was struggling to finish inside, which is rare for him.
Very rare.
They traded 3s for a bit, post and Curry. Rockets were even using Steph as a decoy sometimes to get post those looks. But the constant theme, Jaylen Green just kept torching them.
And the ball pressure on Curry, Kerr was losing it on the sidelines. Those turnovers were just killers. Sheenan scores right after blitzing Curry, more fuel on the fire. It felt like every time the Warriors tried to run something, Houston was right there.
That second half really hammered home how effective Houston's D was. Adams getting that soft double on Steph leads to a steal. Looney scores, gives them a tiny bit of life.
And Udoka calls timeout. Immediately.
Right. Knew the Warriors might be getting a sniff of momentum after Curry hit a 3. Smart coaching.
Curry hits another 3 after the timeout, but again, Rockets just always had an answer. Always.
And then Green starting the 4th with that massive dunk off another Warriors turnover. That felt like a dagger.
It really did. Warriors tried doubling Sheenan hard, forced some tough looks, but Brooks still found ways to score in traffic.
And those non-Curry minutes, man. without Butler as that safety net, the offense just cratered.
Big time.
Plus, you got to credit Houston. They cleaned up their turnovers massively from game 1. Only 8 this time, compared to 17. Huge difference.
Massive.
Their defense stayed tight. Brooks forcing a shot clock violation. Warriors failed to load up properly on a high pick and roll. Van Vliet scores easily. Then Van Vliet scores again over post. Brooks is just yelling, pace, aggression.
The Golden State didn't just roll over. They flipped it for a second, triple-teamed Curry, and somehow it led to a post 3.
Oh, yeah.
Unexpected. Curry pushes, finds Moody for a score. Udoka needs another timeout to stop the bleeding. Moody sets a pin down, another post 3. Then post scores again. Suddenly he's got 12 off the bench.
Showed some fight, for sure. But that physicality just never stopped. Draymond gets fouled hard by Jaylen Green.
Yeah.
They review it for a flagrant.
Looked nasty in real time.
Yeah, but the review said shot was above the shoulders, so just a common foul. Thompson finds some space, scores. But then Draymond, you could see it getting to him, gets the tech. Dr. Green time.
Yeah.
Then he gets into it with Van Vliet, pushing, shoving. No punches, but things were definitely heated.
Super tense.
And even then, Houston's pressure leads to another turnover. Easy layup for Thompson. Leads back up to 19. Felt like that was kind of it.
Pretty much. Sheenan screen, Green 3, game. Warriors got a late Looney score, Moody 3. But then the Shannon-Thompson connection hits again.
And with about 3.40 left, Kerr pulls the starters. That's the signal.
Yep. Rockets lock it down, a 109-94 win. Series tied 1-1. And now, all eyes are on Jimmy Butler's status heading back to the Bay.
What's really striking about Game 2, though, it wasn't just a win for Houston. It felt like a statement, a declaration. They really imposed their will through that physicality, those adjustments. They completely disrupted the Warriors and exposed some real vulnerabilities.
Absolutely. This wasn't just about who scored more. It really was, like that breakdown said, a bloody chess match of pain. Every single possession felt like a fight, tactically and physically.
So it leaves you wondering, right? After seeing that level of intensity and knowing Butler might be out, how do you think the Warriors adjust going home? What can they even do to counter that aggressive physical style from Houston? Could Butler being out be the thing that decides this whole series?
It's a huge question. We definitely want to hear what you think. Share your thoughts on this crazy game. If you found this deep dive useful, hit that like button, subscribe for more analysis like this, and drop a comment letting us know what stood out most to you from this brutal and fascinating game 2.